the leader of the State of Israel has effectively vanished from the face of the earth. As Tel Aviv reels from a relentless rain of Iranian ballistic missiles, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has not been seen in public for days, sparking a global frenzy of speculation regarding his fate. While the official narrative from Jerusalem insists on business as usual, senior military analysts and former United States officials are painting a much more disturbing picture of a leadership in hiding. Retired Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson, a man who once operated at the highest levels of the Pentagon, has revealed that Netanyahu is now estimated to spend 90% of his time in the air, orbiting the Mediterranean in a specialized command plane because the ground has become a lethal kill zone. This is no longer just a war of regional influence. It is a direct hunt for the heads of state. This disappearance follows a series of devastating strikes that have fundamentally altered the landscape of the Middle East. Just as the world absorbed the shock of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei being killed in a coordinated Israeli strike that leveled his compound in Tehran, the hunters have now become the hunted. Iranian retaliatory waves, dubbed True Promise 4, have targeted every major Israeli population center and military hub. The Prime Minister's own office complex was one of the first targets hit during the opening hours of the confrontation, proving that even the most fortified structures can no longer guarantee the safety of a stationary individual. Israel is currently operating under a permanent state of emergency with 70,000 reservists called up. Yet the man leading this charge remains a ghost in the sky. He rules from 35,000 feet, connected to his war room only via secure satellite links, while the cities he governs are torn apart by a fiscal and logistical war of attrition. The silence from the Prime Minister's office is deafening, and it suggests that the Israeli government is hiding a vulnerability they cannot afford to admit. They are facing an adversary that has moved beyond shadow operations to direct, high-precision warfare, and the mystery of Netanyahu's absence is the clearest sign that the tactical calculations of the past have been completely vaporized. The question is no longer when he will appear, but if he can ever safely touch the ground again. The pounding of Tel Aviv is not a sanitized video game simulation. It is a relentless, grinding reality that has exposed the limitations of even the most advanced defense systems. While the Iron Dome and its sister systems have recorded countless interceptions, Iran's current doctrine is one of pure saturation. By overwhelming defensive batteries with massive salvos and sophisticated decoys, Tehran is ensuring that enough projectiles penetrate to maintain a constant state of terror. This is the new math of warfare. Inexpensive Iranian drones and missiles are exhausting high-tech American and Israeli interceptors that cost millions per shot. The logistical strain is reaching a breaking point, and Washington is already feeling the acute pain of depleted stockpiles. Intelligence reports suggest that Russia is now actively providing Iran with targeting data and satellite imagery to help locate specific high-value American and Israeli assets. This intervention has turned the tide, allowing Iranian forces to blind the eyes of the defense network, including a surgical strike that destroyed a $500 million radar unit at a key base in Jordan. In this environment of total surveillance and high-precision lethality, the Prime Minister's office complex was targeted with such accuracy that it has left the world wondering what exactly happened behind those reinforced walls. The Israeli government has been forced into a state of deep tactical silence, refusing to release comprehensive damage assessments or evidence of Netanyahu's well-being. Every time a report surfaces of a missile-making impact in the Tel Aviv metropolitan area, the ambiguity serves both Iranian propaganda and Israeli operational security. If the missiles are reaching the ground in the heart of the government district, it means the most defended airspace in history has been breached. The silence from the top is not merely a security precaution. It is a symptom of a regime that has lost its center of gravity. While Israeli jets continue to strike across Lebanon and Iran, the absence of their commander-in-chief on the ground suggests that the adversary has found a way to strike back at the very heart of Jerusalem. The mystery of the bunker strike is no longer about the damage to a building, but about the survival of the leadership itself. Benjamin Netanyahu's transformation into a nomadic leader is not a choice, but a desperate necessity. When his office complex was struck in the opening hours of the conflict, the message from Tehran was clear that nowhere is safe. Analysts estimate that he now spends 90% of his time in the air, using a specialized command plane to avoid becoming a fixed target for Iranian ballistic missiles. This airborne existence has created a massive disconnect between the leadership and the 10 million citizens who are forced to spend their lives rushing in and out of bomb shelters. While the Prime Minister remains untouchable at 35,000 feet, the ground reality is one of relentless sirens and the terrifying sound of projectiles penetrating the defense grid. The myth of an impenetrable shield was shattered when a $500 million terminal high-altitude area defense radar unit in Jordan was blinded by a precision strike. This was the crown jewel of American air defense, designed to track incoming ballistic missiles from hundreds of miles away, yet it was taken out in a surgical blow. For weeks, the United States had been building an invisible wall of Patriot and NAD systems around the region. But Iran has proved this armor has exploitable flaws. This failure is not just technical, it is fiscal and logistical. Each Iranian drone or missile costs only a fraction of the high-tech American and Israeli interceptors needed to stop them. As the stockpiles dwindle, the vulnerability of major cities grows. Tel Aviv is taking a pounding that the official narrative refuses to admit. Satellite imagery confirms damage to structures and infrastructure that the government continues to play down as minimal. The mystery of Netanyahu's whereabouts is now a central part of Iran's psychological warfare. By forcing the leader of a superpower ally into the sky, Tehran has demonstrated that it can dictate the terms of engagement and keep the highest levels of the Israeli command in a state of constant panicked motion. Inside Israel, the frustration is mounting as citizens feel abandoned by a leadership that governs from the clouds while the ground burns. The strategic gamble of decapitation strikes against Iran has backfired, creating a scenario where the Israeli government is now struggling to maintain the appearance of control while its leader is effectively in flight for his life. The conflict is no longer confined to military bases. It is detonated in the center of the global economy. In its first 100 hours, the war cost the American economy an estimated $37 billion. While Prime Minister Netanyahu remains a ghost in the sky, the very economic foundation of the Middle East is evaporating. Iran has methodically dismantled the Gulf's oil economy, hitting refineries in Saudi Arabia and commercial hubs in the United Arab Emirates. The iconic Burj Al Arab Hotel was struck by drone debris, and the Fairmont Palm Hotel was engulfed in flames, shattering the image of Dubai as a safe haven for global capital. Thousands of tourists and millions of expatriates are now trapped in a region that has become a logistical black hole. Approximately 4.6 million Indians who drive the local economy in the Emirates are stuck in place, with few options to escape other than crossing the mountains to Muscat. The Strait of Hormuz, the world's most critical oil choke point, is now a de facto closure with traffic dropping by 90%. Only 9 ships managed to pass in a single week. This uncertainty has sent global energy markets into a violent spiral. United States oil prices and Brent crude have surged over 30% this week, reaching $91 a barrel for the first time in years. Gas prices at the pump have climbed 43 cents in just 7 days, the largest weekly increase since early March 2022. This economic carnage is a direct consequence of a war that the American public never voted for and which the Israeli leadership cannot seem to finish. While the official word from Jerusalem remains silent on Netanyahu's status, the global market is shouting the truth. The tactical supremacy shown in the opening strikes was a failure of strategic foresight. Decapitating Iran's leadership did not break their will. Instead, it activated a mosaic defense where autonomous units continued to strike American and Israeli interests without central command. As refineries burn and shipping lanes freeze, the question of whether the leader of Israel is alive or dead becomes secondary to the reality that the world order he leaned on is currently in its death throes. The geopolitical calculation behind the decapitation strikes has entered a stage of pure chaos. While Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu remains a nomadic ghost in the sky, orbiting the Mediterranean to avoid becoming a fixed target, the region has transformed into a multi-front battlefield that no intelligence agency can fully map. The assassination of Iran's supreme leader and 40 of his top commanders was intended to bring the Islamic Republic to its knees. But the reality on the ground is the complete opposite. Instead of a total collapse, the world is witnessing the activation of the so-called Mosaic defense, a decentralized approach that allows individual Iranian units and provinces to continue the fight even after their central leadership has been eliminated. This guerrilla-style operation has turned the Middle East into a series of autonomous combat zones where no central authority can easily issue a ceasefire, making diplomacy virtually impossible. While the United States and Israel continue their heavy bombing campaign, the Iranian military is hitting back with a precision that was once thought impossible for a nation under such an intense blockade. Evidence of direct intervention from other global superpowers is now undeniable. United States officials have confirmed that Russia is utilizing its massive space-based surveillance apparatus to feed real-time targeting information directly to Iranian forces. This intelligence allows Iranian missiles and drones to find and strike specific American and Israeli assets that were previously considered secure. At the same time, China is reportedly preparing to provide financial assistance and missile components to ensure that Iran's arsenal does not run dry despite the relentless bombardment. This is no longer a localized conflict. It is a global war of attrition fought through a regional lens. In Israel, the psychological weight of the Prime Minister's disappearance is compounded by the fact that the northern front is exploding. Hezbollah has launched a fresh wave of rocket attacks, wounding several soldiers and signaling that the axis of resistance is far from defeated. As Netanyahu rules from 35,000 feet, his absence on the ground serves as a silent admission that the strategic gamble of this war has failed to secure the homeland. The state remains on a permanent high alert status, but without a visible leader to address the nation. The vacuum of power is being filled by a mounting sense of dread that the conflict has shifted into a phase of uncontrollable escalation. As this conflict drags into its second week, the official silence from Jerusalem regarding Benjamin Netanyahu's physical presence has become more than a security protocol. It is a strategic liability. While the government releases footage of its Air Force striking Tehran, the absolute absence of their prime minister from any verifiable ground-level events suggests a regime in severe distress. We are witnessing the final collapse of the myth of absolute security. The destruction of the $500 million Terminal High Altitude Area Defense Radar in Jordan and the saturation of the Iron Dome have proved that high-tech shields cannot stop a determined adversary using inexpensive drone swarms and Russian satellite intelligence. This is no longer the Middle East that Washington and Jerusalem once controlled. Colonel Douglas Macgregor's assessment is now the dark shadow hanging over every cabinet meeting. Israel is facing a logistical and civilizational war of attrition that it may not survive. The mystery of whether Netanyahu is alive or simply a ghost ruling from 35,000 feet is a metaphor for the state itself suspended in the air, disconnected from a burning ground and running out of options. The Iranian military has demonstrated that even after losing their supreme leader, their Mosaic defense allows them to strike with precision, targeting the very infrastructure that keeps modern Israel functioning. While Donald Trump calls for unconditional surrender, the reality on the ground is a global economic catastrophe and a regional war that has already pulled in the world's major powers. If the Prime Minister has indeed been neutralized or is too afraid to touch the earth, then the decapitation strikes meant to end this war have only succeeded in removing the brakes from a regional firestorm. Jerusalem may be hiding the truth to prevent a domestic collapse, but the markets, the missiles, and the silence of the bunker speak a different language. The world order established decades ago is being vaporized in the orange glow of burning refineries, and the disappearance of Israel's leader may be the first documented chapter in the end of that era. As the United States Navy surges a third carrier toward the Mediterranean, it is no longer clear if there is a functional government left on the ground to coordinate the defense. The hunt for the truth continues, but in the fog of a war that has cost $37 billion and claimed thousands of lives, the most terrifying answer may be that there is no one left at the helm.